Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Hello, everyone. Oh my God. Okay. I know I look super grubby, and oh God, boy, I just got back from camping, so bite me. Okay, there went my monetization. Oh, look at the sunburn I got too. My God, I'm not pale. Screw it. Let me try to put this back on. Oh my God. Oh, but I can't believe the sunburn. Well, at least I got some vitamin D, I guess. But I keep this on my hair when we're camping to keep it somewhat clean. And tuck this in. Okay. But I didn't want to not do a stream tonight. And hello, everybody. Because I'm doing an interview tomorrow. I even got to look at my schedule because I forget. Oh my God, my face hurts from the burn. Oh, I didn't even realize it till now. We literally just got in like under an hour ago. So, yeah, wow. And I didn't know if I'd be able to stream tomorrow, and I don't like keeping you guys waiting. And, but because of that, I'm going to tell you right off, I hope I remember it at the end. I have not updated my Patreon end credits yet, but this is a good way to slide right into my grift. Patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I did get a couple new patrons, and I thank you very, very much. Again, there's been a lot of movement with Patreon because there were some people who were really struggling to be patrons because they wanted to support my campaign. And now that I've won the campaign, you know, financially they just can't do it anymore. And I completely understand that. And nobody can be a patron forever, you know? So if it's at a time in your life where maybe you got a new job or you just can afford it. I hate when, you know me and my necklaces. I use my camera like as my mirror, don't I? That's when I realize I need to brush my hair. Or come on now, the anarchy symbol is being anarchistic. The little bugger. Okay, come on. it's my 80. There we go. It's my OCD. I just couldn't take it anymore. Anyway, if you can become, that was weird. If you can become a patron, I would super, super appreciate it. Patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. You know what I need to start putting up? I'm going to make some graphics maybe for it tonight. My Twitters, and my, Facebooks, but definitely the Twitters. I have a goal. Like, I am just, like, super competitive. I am, like, way more competitive than hardly anybody you probably know. It's a fault. It's not even, like, a virtue at this point. But I'm trying to get past a certain Twitter goal. So, if you can't afford to become a patron, you can follow me on Twitter, at Karen Ann Harlos. Anyway, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I would super, super appreciate it. Alrighty, we're not going to do any LP, like, current stuff, because that's not what this show's about. You can tell my printer's running out of ink. It printed it all in red ink. We got really behind, by we I mean me, with the LP history stuff leading up to Reno. So, we need to catch up. March, April is where we left off, and we're already up to June. And we need to do May, June. So, we're going to finish up March, April. It's kind of going to be speed. We're just going to flip through this, cover what we haven't covered. And then over the next 3 weeks, we'll get through May, June, and then we'll be caught up. I don't like not being caught up on the history. The history stuff is actually what this channel started for. That's my primary thing. By the way, I haven't even really been paying that much of attention, but it looks like I've had some decent channel growth over the past month for me. For me, decent channel growth is 100 subscribers. I know for most YouTube channels that's like nothing. They do that in a day. This is very niche. But if you're not a subscriber, please help me out. It does help the algorithm. So please hit the like button. Or the dislike button. I really don't care. I mean, I care, like, but I'm the only one who gets to see it since YouTube disabled. Like, the public doesn't get to see dislikes anymore. I think that's just a real stupid thing, but I get to see it. So, you know, you can always hit dislike if you want. I don't care one way or another because it helps the algorithm. Like, if 1 million haters came and hit dislike, nobody sees it but me, and it still helps the algorithm. So hit one of the buttons and become a subscriber. It would super, super help me. All right. My God, I can't believe how lobsterfied I am. Yes, this is my tribute to Jordan Peterson. I'm one of the lobsters at this point. I did bring some wine. This side, yes. I drank an awful lot of sangria this weekend. It was good. I like sangria because it only gets you a tiny buzz, but it doesn't really get you drunk, you know. And I worked on a set of minutes. Here's to me. I don't even know what that is. It's not very good, but it's wine. So, okay. I don't mean that like it's wine like most wine isn't good. I mean, even bad wine is still wine, you know. That's what I meant it as. Alrighty. And I don't think I ever straightened out that other camera yet, did I? Nope, it's still that terrible, but hello from the other side of my studio, and you can see what a freaking mess it is in here. All right, let me go back to my main camera. I just wanted to see what that looked like. I need to straighten that out. There's a wire that I need, whatever. Anyway, let's get going, shall we? And if there are any general LP stuff that you want me to answer, I'll either answer it in this show or in the recap. I think I'm going to start doing the LNC recap on Twitch. I'm trying to develop Twitch, and I think that might be a good place to do it. I don't know. Haven't decided. As always, all super chats matter. Super chats real. God, check out these glasses I got. What do you think? Eh? Oh, I'm sitting there and my ADHD kicked in again. Yes, all super chats matter. Definitely appreciated. And let's get going then. I don't see any questions. Let me flip through here though to see what we covered first. And then I'm going to have to take down the chat, put up my other screen where we can look at the LP news. Oh, wear those glasses the whole stream. I can't see through them. That's the problem. I should one stream, though. I should wear those glasses the whole time. But these are pretty cool, too. You gotta admit. I do. These are the same as my pink ones. I just have them in black as well. Okay, we already did the tax protest. We already did the Royce ratings. Did we do spotlight on state parties? I think we did. Maybe I don't recognize this. So let me put this aside. If we have, you guys are going to hear it again. Because I don't think we went over the spotlight on state parties. We did do news of LP candidates. We didn't do okay, we're not going to cover everything in here. We're going to cover what we can and the rest because it looks like we didn't cover a whole lot. I must have spent time. Thank you so much, Trendolin, for the super chat. It is greatly appreciated. And I got the Ron Paul candle was in my way to see the there. It says, can I recommend it to somebody regarding becoming active in the party in California? Yeah, multiple people. I mean, the chair of the National Party is in California. I think she's still chair of the Los Angeles Party, but she may have resigned that. But Mimi Robeson, chair at lpca.org, I'm pretty sure is her email address. Email her and she will hook you up with the person, as Offernabe said, or is it Ofer? And thank you for upping your subscription, by the way. You are a hero. Not all heroes wear capes. And I can't pronounce all heroes' names, obviously. Trendline, but she will hook you up with someone who's close to you since California's so big. So I believe it's share at lpca.org. Or is it mimi.robeson? Go to their website and there will be a contact information for Mimi. She will get someone in your area. The Bay Area, Star Child's really difficult to get in touch with, but he would be someone in the Bay Area. But get in touch with Mimi. She will filter it to the right person. And when you write Mimi, tell her that I'm the one who sent you. Hopefully that will be good. Mimi's a friend of mine, so hopefully that'll move you to the top of the pile. Alrighty. And if for some reason you have trouble finding her email address, shoot me a message on Twitter and I'll get it to you. All right, let's do the spotlight on state parties. All right, for those of you who are, because I've gotten a lot of new people since the time I was doing these, what we're doing, my main thing is LP history, always has been, believe it or not. It's not exposing corruption on the LNC, which isn't going to happen this term. I am confident of it, but that's never been my thing. Libertarian Party tea is not my thing. My thing, well, it might be Libertarian Party tea, but it's tea that's like 50 years old. So it's not really, is it called tea when it's 50 years old? I like the old gossip. Let's put it that way. So what we're doing is we're going month by month through LP news. Pretty much exactly 50 years ago, though we're a couple months behind right now, and just going over what happened, and I giving you the backstory as much as I can determine it. We chase down rabbit trails to try to learn about the granular history of the party together. So we're on April, May 1974. Well, I guess that's not 50 years. That's what, 48 years? Listen, I'm not a math. That's why I'm not treasurer. I'm secretary for a reason. Anyway, that's what we're doing, no matter how many years it is. So we'll continue month by month following along with whatever month we're in. But again, we're a couple months behind. So we're going to kind of speed through this, though, because we're behind. And I'm only going to give you the highlights. So the spotlight on state parties has grown huge. Normally, it was just one page. There you go. Austin Who says, if it's older than 10 years, it's not Libertarian Party tea. It's Libertarian Party wine. I'll drink to that. Okay, so a page and a half of spotlight on state parties. That is fantastic. So we're going to speed through this. Alaska LP has 29 members. Woot, woot, Alaska. And they were going to have Tony Nathan as their keynote speaker. For those of you who don't know, I do go and extract this history out to Lpedia. Lpedia.org is where you go. If you're also into history, we want you on the historical team. You might not officially be on the committee, but you can help out by going to lpedia.org. We use the same software that Wikipedia does. So it's Wikimedia, and add in your bits of LP history. Unlike Wikipedia, we allow you to create your own page. You know, we don't have these huge convoluted rules. Like, I don't know, Wikipedia is nutty to me. They don't like first-hand sources. They like secondary sources, and I don't know. I know when I'm doing historical research, I want first-hand accounts. It's great to have them corroborated by a second-hand account, but to discount first-hand accounts entirely is just dumb. So it's not true or reputable unless, like, the New York Times repeats it. Like, some obscure topics, quote unquote, I know I'm going on my Wikipedia rant again, but it really bothers me. On some obscure topics, there are no quote unquote reputable sources that repeat it because it's obscure. Certainly on big news items, yes. But like on the stuff I like, some of this really, arcane bits of Libertarian Party history, if you're not going to take the party history, the official party newsletter as a reliable source, I don't know what to tell you. Like, give me some of what you're smoking. All right, so Alaska LP, and they're having Tony Nathan as their keynote speaker for their convention. You'll have noticed that there weren't many quote-unquote libertarian luminaries back then. It seemed like John Hospers and Tony Nathan, were recycled, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They went to a lot of conventions, a lot, because there just weren't that many libertarians that people heard a lot about. I mean, you had Murray Rothbard and so on, but in the LP luminaries, rather than libertarian LP luminaries. Murray Rothbard did not become really big in the LP till after June of 74, which we're heading up to. Wow. Arizona. Oh, no, never mind. I blurred in California and Arizona. So Arizona had its convention. Ben Davis of the Liberty Amendment Committee was a speaker. The Liberty Amendment was a huge thing back then. And it said the chairman was featured in an Arizona newspaper. And I think I looked this up. Maybe we did go over this. I don't know. But I might have that on this computer. I'll check it out. California LP had its convention. John Hospers. Like, all these names the same. I'm skimming through this for things, again, because we're trying to catch up, that are super important. Let's see here. Oh, check this out. Hawaii LP has a new chairman, Jerry Dixon, who has been on the air and has set up a 5-minute editorial commentary program called the Libertarian Commentary, which aired on KHVH radio. Awesome. And Georgia Shields of Illinois also participated in a radio talk show. No, I haven't looked this up, because I see Kentucky LP chairwoman, who ended up having to regretfully resign, had a big write-up in the Louisville Times. I did not look that up. Minnesota LP producing a very impressive... Oh, I didn't put this all up on the screen. You know what? We might not do that this time, because again, we're kind of doing speed dating with the old LP right now. The Reasonable Answer. I haven't seen that newsletter yet. New York's Free Libertarian Party is having its convention, and Roger McBride. That's another of the very often convention speakers back then. Okay, let me see here. Check this out. Utah LP chairman George Chapman appeared for an interview on television, and he said, government control of business is simply coercion by a criminal element, which destroys freedom and harms the economy. Now, here's what's funny. That was typical libertarian talk then, to call the government a criminal enterprise, which it is. Today, you say that, and people say you're edgelording. If getting back to the early party is edgelording, I will edgelord every day of the week and twice on Sunday. It is just insane today what people are considering. Oh my God, that's shocking messaging. Lord have mercy, you would not have survived in the early party. Like, in the early party, we actually had tax protest martyrs. Like, people were willing to do that. We have it. We're soft today. I don't think we have it better. The government's gotten exponentially worse since the 70s. I'm not even repeating that over or offer, or you got to tell me how to pronounce your name. Like, we have it harder, but as libertarians, we're softer. All right, so we did news of LP candidates. All right, here's an editorial we are going to read in full. I haven't read this yet, so hopefully it's good. I hope I'm not reading you. Oh, it's funny because it talks about edgelording in here. They don't use that word, but it's funny. And it's kind of talking out against it. So let's see what they have to say from nearly 50 years ago. Who wrote this? David F. Nolan wrote it. So the party founder wrote this. And it's called On Falling Off the Edge. Now remember, the same guy who wrote this, though, I don't know what it's going to say, also had no problem with reprinting about the government being a criminal enterprise. So if he says things that are very subjective, like, you know, saying outlandish things or being too radical, you have to do it in the context of the time. What was too radical for David, now remember, David Nolan wrote the Libertarian Party condensed platform. If you guys haven't seen that, I should show you that now, because we need to get some context on David Nolan. Let me see if I can pull this up fast. Libertarian Party condensed platform Nolan, because I'd like, and it's on Lpedia. Haha. Funny that. Just so you know, for context, because we would never say this today. Today, people would be clutching their pearls and grasping for their EpiPen if we said this today. All right, let me screen share. I'm going to need to take down the chat here a second. All right. It says Libertarian Party condensed platform. Regarding government, we favor the abolition of damn near everything. Number 2, we call for drastic reductions in everything else. 3, and we refuse to pay for what's left. This needs to be tweeted. Are there any national Twitter people? Dave Benner! Calling Dave Benner. Are you out there? You guys need to tweet this out. I'm going to email this to you in case you don't see this show. So that's the context. All right. All right. Let's put the chat back up. Sorry, it refreshes when I put it back up. So we're going to read his editorial now. It should come as no surprise to readers of LP News that your editor is no great fan of that great American sacred cow, the two-party system. If freedom is to become a reality, we must have a multi-party system, and within limits, the more parties, the better. Actually, I don't agree with him on that. Well, on multiple ways. First, let me take his basic premise that we need government as a given. We'll get back to that. I don't think within limits. I think the more parties, the better, without limits. But I reject his basic premise that government and therefore political parties are even necessary in the system we have now. Obviously, we live in reality where we're at now. Remember that this is prior to the Dallas Accord. Everything I'm reading is prior to the Dallas Accord. So the LP was explicitly a minarchist party at this point in time. Those of you who don't know that the party is explicitly welcoming to anarchists, and if you find that shocking, I'm sorry that people didn't tell you this, or if somebody told you otherwise, I'm sorry that people have lied to you, but look up on my station that the Libertarian Anarchist, the name of the show is called Anarchist Welcome in the Libertarian Party since 1974. If you like that kind of history, you'll really enjoy that program. Mama brings receipts. Mama always brings receipts. Thus, it is with some sadness that we must report on recent developments in the two other significant minority parties in this country, the American and the People's Parties. The People's Party of then is not the People's Party of today. It's a very like, ooh, ah, rah, rah name. So I'm not surprised there have been multiple parties called the People's Party, but it's not the same one today. By the way, I saw a headline. Well, we need to do a People's Party show soon. And hey, this isn't said as a slam either. You know, some people upset with the LP have left and formed their own spec that. I respect that more than sitting and sniping from the sidelines. To go and actually have the testicular fortitude to go start your own party. Hey, hats off. I'm not going to take my hat off, but hats off to you. So I'm going to start covering the Keystone Party, and I'm not going to do it like in some kind of weird, snarky way. I like covering third parties, so we will be covering them. Apparently, I don't know whether it's official, but a chapter has opened up in Washington. I don't know whether it's just one guy saying it or whether it's official or not, but we're going to start covering the Keystone Party. All right. And isn't there an American Party today or something similar to that name that are like actual Nazis or white supremacists? You guys tell me, and tell me if I'm mistaken, because I don't like using that term lightly. Is it like American Independence? God, if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, because I don't want to defame anyone. But I know there's some minor party today with the word American in the title that is like literal white supremacists. Crap, I feel like going to IPR to look it up. Okay, 4. While we have many serious differences... Where am I at? Oh, of opinion... God, this red type is really hard to read. With these two groups, it would be nice to see them making inroads into the territories of the Dems and the GOP and helping to convert the public to the idea of multi-party politics. In recent months, however, both the American Party and the People's Party have been moving further and further away from broad-based, viable alternatives to the two major parties. Okay, I'm going to disagree again with David Nolan. What other minor parties do is not your business, dude. Unless, like, you're going to expose them for corruption or something like that, let them do them. Like, you know, we're allegedly the party of principle, and I think we've become the party of principle again. But I think our like, unofficial tagline should be, you do you, boo-boo. And as far as these two parties back then, however many years ago, you do you, boo-boo. I don't care if David Nolan agrees. It's their party. They'll do what they want to. And I agree with you, William. I do respect action over keyboard provocateurs. You know, so I actually do respect that they went and started their own party. We'll see how it goes for them. If they're going to be like libertarian, I don't even want to say quote-unquote libertarian because I don't like that whole game, but if they're going to be like the progressive libertarians, good for them. There'll be a place for the people who are like the wokesters to run to, because the LP ain't woke. Like, that is so outside the realm of political action. Like, that should be your personal, like, philosophy, but you don't use the force of the state. And politics is about the force of the state. It says the American Party, which began as a vehicle for George Wallace's presidential candidacy in 1968, and then became a vehicle for dissemination of Birch-style conservative ideology in 1972, is now on the verge of collapse, so barely 2 years later. Third parties don't usually last very long, or if they do, it's like a super, super tiny. A lot of people may not know there is still a prohibition party, that their major thing, they're basically a one-issue party that they still support alcohol prohibition. They've been around since the time of prohibition, and their animal is the camel, which I just find so funny for some reason. A major portion of its state affiliates have broken away from the national leadership, and that's really common as well. And to get back to like the Keystone thing, there's people who are like, I want my state affiliate to disaffiliate. Dude, just go start your own party. Why are you trying to ruin it for people who are happy with where things are going from? Go start your own party. This whole breaking away thing, they support tobacco prohibition as well, Dave. I did not know that. I haven't looked into them very much. I should start covering them because I find them really fascinating. So anyway, a major portion of its state affiliates have broken away, and we know of at least 7 states where AP leaders, dismayed at their party's head-on plunge towards lunacy, have made overtures towards our people. The reasons for these developments are many, but we are convinced that one major factor is the national AP's increasing tendency towards the worst sort of right-wing kookiness. It says, and now what's funny is people in the party today, and let me preface this by saying right off, I'm really ignorant as to a lot of what this group says. My foray into politics began with the Libertarian Party. I was not political prior to getting involved in the Libertarian Party, and sometimes I step in it with some statements I say because I'm just ignorant of things outside the LP bubble or current politics. But he's going to start talking about the John Birch Society. I know next to nothing about the John Birch Society, except for that most people in the party today, I don't even want to say most people, the same people, a lot of people, and it's the same people who accuse the Mises Caucus, it tends to be, will accuse the John Birch Society of being racist, Nazis, the whole gamut. So it makes me very skeptical as to whether they actually are any of those things. All I know is that the early party were fans of the John Birch Society. Now, I don't know whether JBS, keep saying JBH because of Joe Bishop Henchman, I don't know whether JBS has changed since the 70s, so that the opinions of today, it's because they're totally different. But I know in the early 70s, David Nolan and the early party, at least the more conservative members of the early party, were fans of the John Birch Society. I know that's embarrassing to some people today, but it's a historical fact. So keep that in mind as I read the next section, where they criticize the American Party for moving away from its John Birch Society roots. Because something else you need to know is that the early party were huge fans of not necessarily everything this candidate believed in, but certainly a lot of his positions this candidate believed in, and that was Barry Goldwater. There were a lot of Goldwaterites in the early party because they agreed with his opposition to the Civil Rights Act. Not because they hated black people or anything like that. They just thought it wasn't the province of the government, which, as embarrassing or not, as people today might find it, the Libertarian Party's official position is opposition to things like public accommodations laws. I'm sorry if that makes you grasp your pearls, but if you just think about it, that's consistent with the non-aggression principle and private property. You're allowed to be an asshole with your private property. Putting a no black sign on your business, you are a big asshole. And I hope your mother hates you. But you're allowed to do that. Freedom is not a tame lion. And I hope you go out of business. You don't need the Civil Rights Act for that. You just need people in society who realize that they don't want anything to do with someone who would act like that. But with the minute you put government into the equation, it makes it worse. Now, of course, we don't believe there should be things like public schools or government paid for buses, but if there are, they can't discriminate. So absolutely no sitting at the back of the public bus. No segregation of schools. But that has nothing to do with the Civil Rights Act when it comes to libertarians. That has to do with the government is not allowed to discriminate because it steals money from everybody. But private people, sorry, not sorry, the LP says you have a right to do that. Now, we also have a right to drive you out of business through free market means, not the force of the government. Anyway, so now you got the background with the John Birch Society, Barry Goldwater, so on and so forth. So it says, in recent months, the American Party has increasingly drifted away from its John Birch Society line and is now openly displaying ties with Liberty Lobby. I've never heard of Liberty Lobby. Someone do like a Wikipedia search. Was that ever anything to be a blip on the radar? I've never heard of it. A Washington, D.C. outfit controlled by Willis Carto. Oh, check this out. Carto at one time was a supporter of the American Nazi Party. Okay, I think I feel pretty safe in saying that the American Nazi Party was probably Nazi. That one, I think we can safely say. And Dave Davis quoted the prohibition. I'm going to need to read their platform. We oppose tobacco in all its forms. Is that like renouncing the devil in all of his ways? Now, let me tell you something. Most people, I'm a rare bird, though there might be a lot of these in the LP. We're all rare birds. But I've never even tried a cigarette. Like, I'm not a non-smoker like someone who tried it as a kid and just never took it up. I never even tried it. The smell of it makes me want to puke my guts out. It wasn't a goody two-shoes or anything like that. I just didn't like the smell. And I didn't want to smell bad. I like smelling nice. Okay. Other evidence of AP derangement include they're accepting an ad for the Minutemen. I don't know who that is either. In their monthly newsletter, and an increasing inability on the part of their chairman, Tom Anderson, to distinguish between politics and religion. Wow, sounds not the Nazi part, but the inability to distinguish between politics and religion sounds like the Constitution Party. And at the rate Anderson is going, he will have driven everyone who isn't a rabid religious fanatic out of the AP within 6 months. Okay, I take back where I was doing the you do you boo-boo. Okay, David Nolan, he wasn't saying they're moving farther and farther away from being moderate. He's just saying they're becoming just people, bad people. Okay, Austin Who says Liberty Lobby was a U.S. political. I got to move look, I'm going to show off again. My Take Human Action Award. I need to move that away. Founded in 1958 by Willis Carto. Carto was known for his promotion of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, white nationalism, and Holocaust denial. Okay, sounds like a genuine Nazi. It says according to Wikipedia, so take that with whatever salt you wish. But we also got some confirmation here from David Nolan, so it sounds legit. It says, as for the People's Party, it seems bent on becoming nothing more than another left-wing splinter group. Well, that's the same thing with today's People's Party. Until about a year ago, the People's Party maintained an open-door policy, trying to draw in a broad spectrum of left liberal dissidents. Boy, it sounds like the People's Party today. They claim... I got two, Mike, get out of the way. I had that... I don't know why I had that in screen. They claim to be this broad spectrum, but they really aren't if you listen to them. Now, however, apparently only hardcore socialists are welcome. Today's People's Party has not yet gotten to that point. And yes, I did lose all of my nails in the camping trip. If you're nail shaming me. And the February issue of their newsletter, Grassroots, openly promotes communist literature. Needless to say, communism, at least when presented as communism, has about as much appeal in this country as does the bubonic plague. Ooh, times have changed. Thus, the People's Party, too, appears to be doing its best to put itself out of business. There is a bright side to this turn of events, of course. Well, David, okay, no fan of communism, dude, but I think maybe you had a little bit of blinders on, because the ideas you guys were presenting, even in the 70s, did not have a broad-based appeal. And today, not yet at least, I believe in it because it's right, not because I think it's popular. So if the People's Party then thought communism was right, then they were holding true to their principles. The bright side to this is it leaves the field wide open to us as the credible third party in America. There is also a lesson to be heeded here. Now, here's where I think I'm going to disagree with him. I haven't read this yet, but I kind of skimmed ahead. And it is that any third party movement must always be on guard against becoming too narrow in its appeal, and must always be wary of its own lunatic fringes. But remember, he obviously wouldn't consider calling the government a criminal enterprise a lunatic fringe. Prior LP News lauded tax day martyrdom. So it's interesting. Lunatic fringe is very subjective. The pledge is what was put into place to guard us against our own lunatic fringe. But that's, I don't know who he was referring to here, but most people would consider David Nolan himself the lunatic fringe. So I think he ought to have done a little introspection before penning this, or be more specific by what he meant, because I have no idea who he means as our own lunatic fringe. Fortunately, the LP has a relatively small lunatic fringe. Do we now? Most people in society in the 70s would have considered all of y'all a lunatic fringe, just so you know. I wish he would have given some examples. He said, but it is there, and would like nothing better than to capture party in the name of some great reform. That's funny. Already in the 70s, 74, 2 years after the party formed, there were already like reform movements. And I know some people are going, ooh, ooh, ah, or ooh, ooh. That's what the Mises Caucus wanted to do. Remember, before that, there was actually the Reform Caucus in 2006 who deleted our entire platform because they thought it was all the lunatic fringe. I would say the reform that the Mises Caucus has done this time, I know some people, the more wokesters, will be like, oh, it is, whatchamacallit, the modern day lunatic fringe. But I actually think what it's appealing to is more populist than the people who are opposing it. And I don't mean that in a quote-unquote right-wing populism, which is the narrative that's trying to be spun, because I don't think it's right-wing at all to be in favor of full drug legalization and things like that. Now, there might be some more personally in your own personal life conservative values, and I really don't care about that. I don't hold those for my personal life personally, but I don't care what other people's personal preferences are. I care what the government is doing. I mean, obviously, to some point, I care about personal preferences. I mean, I said earlier that I wouldn't want to be around anyone who is a flaming racist, but that's not a political thing. That's more of a personal morals thing. I don't know. I probably have to compact that into a little bit more clarity. But where was I going? I got so great reform or purification. I don't know about this, David, because David Nolan himself, this is what's funny. I wonder if he would look back on what he wrote in 74 while he was still alive and cringe. Because David, after the reform massacre, the platform deletion that we call the Portland Massacre, started the Restore 04 movement. And it might have even been a caucus. I don't know if it was just like a small movement or whether they actually called themselves a caucus. But it was called Restore 04. And that was to restore the 2004 platform, which the people in 2006 thought was barking moonbat, and that's why they deleted it. So I wonder how David felt about being considered part of the lunatic fringe in 2006. The people in 2006, a lot of them, not all of them, thought the pledge was Looney Tunes, thought the phrase oppose the cult of the omnipotent state in our statement of principles was Looney Tunes. So be very careful with these kinds of descriptives, because they might come back and bite you in the rear. Because one person's lunatic fringe is another person's principled stance. It's better to be specific and explain why you think it's wrong or bad than just throwing out pejoratives like lunatic fringe. Because David Nolan, in the later part of his life, would have definitely been considered part of the lunatic fringe. Be careful. And this, more than any other development, is the one thing which could destroy us. Okay, David, I think you probably in later life regretted that paragraph. We all regret paragraphs. I regret whole novels of paragraphs at this point. Let us learn from the examples of the American and People's Parties and make sure that doesn't happen. I think the American Party was a good example here of like a charismatic leader just taking the party far afield. But I think the People's Party was, in this example, from the little I read, was just following their principles. He just disagreed with it and basically argued, but that's not popular. I don't know. Principles are principles, whether they're popular or not. Okay, next thing. IRS shafts small parties. Most of you know, oh, wow. I didn't know this is when this happened. I wonder if you guys will be interested in this. Most of you may remember that last year, the IRS initiated a tax checkoff program whereby taxpayers could contribute, and he put contribute in quotes. Man, so many libertarians are confused about this. I need to do a whole show on it. $1 of their federal income tax towards a presidential election fund. When this program was launched, it was stated that those who participated could designate which party would receive the dollar. Now, however, the rules have been changed after the first year's contributions were received. I did not know that. As things now stand, the provision for designating the recipient of the dollar has been eliminated, and the fund will be divvied up by the GOP and the Dems only. Now, that has changed since then. There's been all kinds of reform on that, but we need to do a whole show on this quote-unquote voluntary checkoff, because that's where the federal welfare comes from if we get over 5%. And so many people are lusting for that. That destroyed the Reform Party, and it could easily destroy us, much more so than this imaginary lunatic fringe. But now it isn't divvied up between the GOP and the Dems. They tend to forsake it because there's too many strings attached. And we have qualified 2 times, by the way, both times by Harry Brown, for that federal multi-million-dollar welfare check, and Harry Brown refused it both times. He got more publicity by refusing it than by taking it. In all likelihood, LP National will launch a suit to block disbursement of the funds in 76. I wonder if we did that. But for the moment, we counsel all LP members not to participate and to write a nasty letter to the IRS. Some people would think writing a nasty letter to the IRS is lunatic fringe, David. Convention choice, September. The results of the opinion survey, but I think it happened earlier than September. I thought it happened in June. Conducted via a ballot in the last LP news, indicate a vast majority of members favor changing the National LP Convention from June to some other time. Most popular of the alternatives suggested was that of having conventions in September, with business in odd number years, e.g., our 76 nominating convention in September of 75. Number 2 choice was to have business conventions in the fall of odd years and rallies in the summer of even years. The final decision on changing convention times will be made in Dallas this June. Okay, so the Dallas convention was June. We're going to watch with interest over LP News all of this stuff about how our convention dates have changed over time, because and I don't mean this to be dismissive or disrespectful of new members' opinions. I love when new members come in because they'll think of things we haven't thought of before, and they will bring innovation to this party. But when it comes to something as basic as when we have our conventions, please be careful before you come rearing in and go, we should change this. Because we've been around 50 years. If it's something really basic like that, the chances are you are not the first person to think of that. And the chances are we've probably tried it already, and there's a reason why we're doing things the way we're doing it now. And it doesn't mean it shouldn't be changed, but at least go back and research the history, figure out if it's been tried before and failed, and why it failed, and if things are different now, or how you can cure the failure, rather than just going off and going, oh, we need to change our conventions to earlier. Well, we used to have them earlier. Why don't we? Look into that first, so you can have a reasoned argument that might change your mind. Now, there will be new developments, and new people will come up with things that those of us who have been in the party longer would never think of, because we're set in our ways. And we need to welcome that. But if it's something as basic as the size of the National Committee, yes, we used to have 20 regions, because people today are now going, why don't we just move regions down to 5%? Dude, we've tried that. Maybe it is time to try it again, but at least research why it was abandoned in the past. Basic things like that we've probably thought of and tried. But new things, like blockchain voting, obviously, that's a new thing. Maybe that would be great. I don't know. Let's look into it. Okay, political perspective number 15. I normally do these as a separate episode, but we are going through it tonight. Hell, it's not even an hour. It's not a long stream of mine until we hit 4 hours. This isn't going to be a 4-hour stream. I've got minutes to finish tonight. And this is also by David F. Nolan. And again, it's called Scenario for a Nightmare. I'm not one of those people who is usually prone to seeing the final collapse around every corner. And I agree with him. I think that is part of the lunatic fringe of the LP. Because you cry wolf so many times and people will not believe you when the wolf is finally at the door. But lately, I've been having this terrible vision of how things could go in the next few years. Okay, we're going to continue in a minute here. I want to drink a little bit more wine and pimp a little bit more. Those of you who are just coming on, please consider becoming a patron. No, I don't think anyone else is doing this kind of historical work. Yeah, I am slurring a little bit because I've had some wine and I've been drinking sangria all day. Pink Flame of Liberty / no, Patreon.com. Oh, I am getting drunk. Get drunk with me. Yay. Patreon.com / Pink Flame of Liberty. I would truly appreciate it. Yes, I am looking for another job at this point. I've been out of work on and off for a while now. Things should be looking up, but I am looking to at least do liberty activism part-time, and you could be helping me with that if you enjoy this type of content. And as usual, super chats matter. Tip your bartender. Okay, continuing. It begins with a massive Democratic landslide in the congressional and senatorial races this November. Now, again, this brings up, people don't like, the early party was very much Republican retreads. And the early LP was considered a right-wing movement. Doesn't mean there were not left-wing people in there, such as believe Carl Bray considered himself a left libertarian, but there were multiple ones. As a whole, if you look at the historical write-ups, the LP was considered a right-wing movement. And before the term far right became a pejorative, a far right one. I'm sorry, not sorry. History does not care about your feelings. That's what I need on a t-shirt. Let me write that down. I don't have a pen. Where's my pens? What is this? Why do I have nail polish wipes here? All right, well. Okay, that's going to be a new shirt. Does someone want to design this for me? History doesn't care about your feelings. History hurts my feelings all the time. Do you think I like that the LP was founded? Even though there were anarchists in the party's position was explicitly minarchist? Boo-hoo, that makes me cry. History doesn't care about my feelings. History is what history is. Is that Wayne coming down the stairs? Wayne, are you coming down the stairs? I hear, like, hoofbeats up above. The joys of recording in the basement without adequate acoustics. All right. The GOP is publicly conceding that they could easily lose 55 seats in the House. Oof. Oof. That's a lot. And the Dems are gleefully predicting 75. This would leave the GOP with perhaps 125 seats to the Dems 310. My God, that is a landslide, isn't it? I have a feeling this election year, the blue wave is going to be the blue trickle. I don't care one way or another. I hate both of them. Will says a small lunatic fringe. I think he meant we can do better. We can faux better too, but we can do better. Faux show. Hold our beer or wine, as it might be. The economic situation worsens, and the unstoppable Democrat majority imposes all kinds of new controls in 75 and 76. This, of course, makes things even worse. Okay, I want to give a little bit of a backlash here. Some people will go, how can you hate both equally? I guess a lot depends upon, what you prioritize, economic issues or social issues. Libertarians should prioritize them both equally. There's no doubt that even though the Republicans are not economic conservatives, even though they claim to be, that they certainly are more economically conservative on average, certainly not on things like the warfare state, but on average than the Dems. However, maybe what it will take to move things towards a libertarian direction is a massive failure that the Dems will bring about. So that's why I don't ever do I'm going to vote for an R this election because they're economically better than the D. Well, maybe the real crappy economic policies of the D is what will bring in the L. Like, you can't centrally plan liberty. So I just do a principled vote each time for the Libertarian Party. That's why I don't believe in... But listen, you do you, boo-boo, as I said earlier, but I'm just explaining my thought process. The Democratic Party goes into 76 convention with approximately half of the delegates behind a Kennedy-McGovern-style liberal, or perhaps several, and the other half behind Wallace. To avoid tearing the party apart, they compromise on the great super statist, Henry Jackson, who combines the worst aspects of both wings of the party. The GOP is still struggling under the burden of water closet? Was that supposed to be a joke? It's funny. Is that what some people were, jokingly, trollingly calling Watergate water closet? Okay, with this much history ahead of us, like, I don't know. I think there's something here I'm not getting. Of Water Closet mounts a half-hearted campaign behind some nebbish. That's a word that's not used very often. And David Nolan has a very good vocabulary, by the way. And the public, fed up with the depressed economy, and mostly unfairly blaming it on the GOP despite the Democrat-controlled Congress, turns en masse to Jackson while re-electing the democratically lopsided Congress. And lo, the U.S. has become, for all practical purposes, a one-party country with the very worst element of that party in the White House. Controls are piled upon controls. Rioting breaks out. Sounds like today. Doesn't it? The National Guard is mobilized. The government takes over most of the transportation and communication facilities. Now, it hasn't gotten that bad today. Virtually everything is rationed. Certainly has not gotten that bad. Gas was rationed in the 70s. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. And perhaps to top everything off, Jackson drags us into World War III. Okay, David Nolan's having a fever dream here. But a lot of this sounds like today. Maybe I'm having a fever dream. I don't know. It can happen here, and I'm afraid it will, unless we can establish the Libertarian Party as a real viable alternative to the Democrats by 1976. I kind of share his worry, but just push it forward 50 years. The GOP has had it, even at its best. It was nothing to rave about, and it's even weaker today than it has been since Roosevelt's semi-dictatorship. And if Roosevelt could take a largely free country and turn it into a semi-socialist state, yep. I shudder to think what Henry Jackson could do starting at a point far, far further down the road to slavery than it was in 1932. Not a pleasant thought, is it? If this scenario disturbs you as much as it does me, then I sincerely suggest that you start working your tails off right now to prevent it. People wonder why I work so furiously. That's why. He was encouraging it then. Well, here I am now. David Nolan passed away in 2010. Long after his death, heeding that advice. That's why I work in politics. I don't like it, but that's why I do it. Because like it or not, we the LP are America's last best hope. And I agree with that today. If fascism comes to America, it will be because we didn't prevent it. I'm not sure it's fascism I'm scared of. Just loss of freedom. I don't really care what ism it comes under. And then it goes to some books in brief. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to tell you which ones they highlighted and tell you which ones I might want to get. Beholden to None by Jean Dewey's. This is a novel. It's a dystopian futuristic novel. He said, he wouldn't rank it with Rand or Heinlein, but it's a cut above garbage being sighed over. Well, I'm not, that's not a glowing review to me, so I don't know. If I see it somewhere, I might pick it up. I wonder if it's on Audible, but whatever. Next one, The Machinery of Freedom. Now that's an excellent book. Already have it, already read it. I'm pretty sure. I know I watched his video lectures by David Friedman. Then, check this out. Oh, it's a Spooner classic back in print called The Unconstitutionality of the Laws of Congress Prohibiting Private Mail. Then Our Enemy, the State by Knock. Haven't read it, but I've only heard good things about it. And As We Go Marching by John T. Flynn. All right. Last page. And where are we at time-wise? Only an hour and 4 minutes? That's short for me. I'm just getting warmed up. Let me have some more wine and do some more pimping. I need more wine. Your super chats can help. Oh my God, look, my face is getting redder. What? I got a lot of sun today. We were out on the Rhino for okay, I just realized that sounded weird. I don't mean rhino like a literal rhinoceros. No, Wayne and I do not have a pet rhinoceros, though that would be metal as hell. A Rhino is a brand of side-by-side ATV, also called a UTV, which is a universal terrain vehicle. So we have a side-by-side ATV. The brand name is Rhino. I forgot who makes it. It's not Yamaha, it's crap. Who makes the Rhino? Anyway, we were going like up the mountain. So we do our campsite lower because we have the big ass Ford, I think it's an F-350. What is that? I'm not a truck person. It's a big ass diesel truck with a pop-up camper on the back. And we'll park, and then we'll take the Rhino and go high on Jeep roads. We got stuck today in a snowdrift. There is still snow on the mountains. I have some video. We had a first time I've ever seen this in action. We have a winch. We had to winch it out. So I'll show a video of that, by the way. It was interesting. We got, how did he call it? Center. Like the wheels were like this because the snow like pounded. So we were bottom centered, or I don't know. I've drunk too much. But anyway, yeah, we had to winch our way out of this snowdrift up in Rollins Pass. All right, bits and pieces. Let me see if there's just anything here we really need to cover. Carl Bray, before he passed away, offers seminars on law and taxes. Here's some convention notices. Looks like chair of the what they didn't call it the Credentials Committee. They called it Delegate Accreditation. I can't pronounce that. Accreditation. Yes, Georgianne Trammell. I believe she was the national secretary. I don't know if at this point, but I know she was at some point. Ed Clark was platform chair. Looks like convention chair was Guy Story Brown. And you could announce your candidacy for chair. Bill Westmiller was the Constitution and Rules chair. Alrighty. Oh, this is interesting. This is the last thing I want to read. Okay, I want to see if I can show this to you guys. I don't know if you can see that. It's not... I wonder if I can do it on this other camera. Let me see if I can bring it closer to this other camera. Nope. Okay, you see that little symbol there with, it says laissez-faire, and it's got an arrow to the upper right-hand corner. Let me go back here. That was the official party logo in 1974. So he says, a note to new readers. If this is your first issue of LP News, you've seen, because you just joined, or received this copy in response to one of our magazine ads, and this was called the Liber sign, by the way. You may be puzzled about the meaning and origin of the Liber sign emblem, symbol of the libertarian movement. That means I need more wine. My glass appears to have a hole in it. Put simply, this emblem symbolizes the fact that libertarianism is a new direction for society, which breaks away from and rises above the traditional left-right spectrum. On a two-axis map of political ideologies, the arrow points towards the location of maximum economic and social freedom. A full explanation is contained in the article on classifying systems, which is available from the National LP. It says see enclosed order form. I don't know if I have that order form. Pins in the shape of this emblem are also available. I'm going to need to see if I can find that article on classifying systems. Now, you might be surprised because you guys are probably more familiar with the Nolan chart, which is a diamond with the libertarian quadrant being true north. It didn't used to be a diamond. It used to be a square, shifted clockwise so that true north went right. I know this is mirror image, but right. That is the way it used to be classified. So that's why the Liber sign is that way. And if you ever wondered why the Radical Caucus logo is, that was because it was the shifting Liber sign. If you had the Liber sign and then shifted it to the Nolan. Anyway, that's just a bit of trivia about the Radical Caucus, where that came from. Excuse me, I need to sneeze, I think. I have photic sneeze reflex. I don't know if anyone knows what that is. That means looking at bright lights sometimes makes me sneeze. I would be disqualified from being an Air Force pilot because of that. Only 30% of the population has photic sneeze reflex. Anyway, and sometimes the studio lights make me sneeze, and I've got to avoid looking at them because I'll sneeze again. Anyone else in the audience have photic sneeze reflex? Look it up on Wikipedia. All right, speaking of Lpedia, I wanted to see if I did have that one article I thought I might have saved to the desktop of this computer. But let's look what I got here. See, Offernave has photic sneeze reflex. Okay, that's the bylaws. Don't want that. That's Angela. Whoa, don't want that. There's Kramer. What's this? Nope. 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 What's this? There's Dave Casey. I've got a picture of Dave Casey at convention. What's this? No. 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 No, no. Okay, not that. Okay, no, I don't think I have it. I thought I did. Let me just check my downloads folder. No, I thought I had an article I wanted to read to you guys. Well, if I find it at some later date, we'll do it. But otherwise, let me, why isn't it going back to the stream? Show all windows. This, oh, here we go. All right. I definitely have drank too much. But it wasn't Ron Paul's fault. Put my candle back there. All right, that's it. So we blasted through March, April. Probably my next stream, we're going to hop right on May, June. So we get caught up. So you didn't know it had a name. Yeah, neither did I till recently. But it's photic, Photic sneeze reflex. You probably have the same experience I did. I thought everyone did that. You know, when you have something, it doesn't even occur to you. So I remember it was about 15 years ago. A friend of mine's like, oh, I got a sneeze. I go, oh, just look at a bright light. And she looked at me like, what? I'm like, yeah. If you can't get the sneeze out, just look at a bright light. Because bright lights make you sneeze. And she's like, what's wrong with you? And that's when I found out. It's a condition. Some people have it a lot worse than I do, and that's why you're disqualified from being an at least Air Force. I'm not sure if commercial airline, if you're not allowed to. Anyway, now that I dropped some knowledge on y'all. Wish.com, baby. It's got a smudge on it, though. That makes it difficult. And it's not just these things. I could do a whole show with these on. That would be pretty funny, wouldn't it? But that's it for tonight. I thank y'all for spending this time with me. I'm going to go upstairs, see what the spousal unit is doing. Maybe we'll watch an episode of The Handmaid's Tale if he's not too tired, but he's probably too tired because the Rhino doesn't have power steering, and we were going over some rocks, so it was tough. All right, y'all. Again, I have not yet updated my Patreon closing screen, so I don't have your updated status on there yet. I did make the new little video, but I forgot to send it over to this computer, and I do have a new patron I need to stick on there. That'll be next time. All right, guys, I hope you have an awesome night. Bye bye.
gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.